Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing? Thank you for stopping by. I hope this video finds you well. Welcome back to the Cuban Redneck Kitchen, where today we're going to be making a classic. I am talking about tuna casserole. Not your average fishy, full of preservative, combo soup type of tuna casserole, but one that is made from scratch, one that is super easy to make, yet cheesy and perhaps a little bit on the healthy side. Now, if you like to eat, this is something you need to try. I understand that a lot of people are quitting that since the FDA just approved lab meat to be sold in US stores and Walmart is pledged to have it on the shelf before the 2022 holidays. In the meantime, if you're looking for DIY stuff, do me a favor, click on the title of the channel where you'll find multiple playlists dedicated to this topic. Now, I'm calling this dish a tuna casserole just so it's a trigger point or something that you can relate to. However, I prefer to make this dish with other types of fish other than tuna. Actually, growing up, I was not a real big fan of tuna casserole. That is a very American thing. My Cuban mom, every time that she made it, she would do it from a recipe, whether it's the Campbell soup version or the Lipton onion powder, whatever version. At the end of the day, it was just not very appetizing. It was a little bit on the fishy side. And not something that I would say, hey, I'll have some tuna casserole. However, I was probably 13, 14 years old. I had it over at my neighbor's house where she used to make it with shark meat. And that completely flipped me on the tuna casserole bandwagon. Since then, I've been making it with all kinds of different types of fish. However, that takes a lot of extra preparation. We need to smoke the fish, things like that. So for practicalities, just to be practical, I'm going to go ahead and use canned tuna. With that said, you have a lot of range when it comes to a tuna casserole. You can make this very cheap with budget-minded, ingredients, or you can just elevate it and take it wherever it is you want to take it. Check this out. Here's what we're going to need for this tuna casserole recipe. One quick tip, if you like cheese oozing out of your tuna casserole, consider upping the amount of chicken broth and milk to about 2 cups. You may also want to up the amount of cheese. The amounts described here is kind of neutral, not too cheesy, not too dry. Okay, let's get started by preheating the oven to 400 degrees and bringing a tablespoon of oil to temperature over medium heat in a saucepan. To this, we're also going to add a tablespoon of butter. For the onions and peppers, I'm using frozen stock from my garden. You can buy these in bags at your local grocery store, or you can just use fresh. Really doesn't matter. Once the saucepan is up to temperature, go ahead and add the onion and the peppers. You want to season this guys lightly. A little bit of salt and pepper, but not too much since we're going to be using broth. While that cooks, you want to chop about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic and then add them to the saucepan once the onions start to get translucent. Cook the garlic for a minute or so and then add 3 tablespoons of flour. Here's another opportunity to use a healthier choice such as whole wheat, whole grain, rice, or even almond flour. Anything that would thicken the sauce will work. Stir that up and let's measure our broth and milk. As I said earlier, if you like the tuna casserole really juicy with cheese oozing out when you cut it, consider upping the amount of liquids and even the amount of cheese. After the flour has cooked for about a minute, we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of the liquid and stir it until everything is dissolved. Then go ahead and add the balance and keep stirring for 2 to 3 minutes until it comes up to temperature and small bubbles start to develop. At which time, we need to taste for salt and pepper. How much salt and pepper you're going to need is all depending on the brand and type of broth that you use. Once you're satisfied with the taste profile, turn off the burner and set the saucepan aside to cool down. We can now start to work on the pasta. You can work on both the sauce and the pasta at the same time, but it is important that the sauce cools down a little bit before you use it. I hope I don't have to show you how to cook pasta, but one thing that is very important is to follow the directions on the box for al dente. For the Barilla pasta that I'm using, it is 10 minutes on the dot. While the pasta cooks, we can go ahead and grease a 9x13 casserole dish with cooking spray. If you're adding additional broth and milk to the recipe, as suggested, consider one that is deeper than this one. Once the pasta is done, we're going to go ahead and strain it and cool it down to stop the cooking process. While the pasta drains, let's make a topping. In a deep dish, hopefully one bigger than this one, let's combine 1 cup of the Vigo seasoned breadcrumbs, 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, and about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Mix this thoroughly until all the lumps are dissolved. And then, let's get started with assembling our tuna casserole. In a large mixing bowl, combine the pasta, the sauce, the now drained tuna, and the cheese. Mix everything well and pour it into a casserole dish. Even it out and cover it with a topping. Even if it looks like everything is covered, if you let it sit for a few seconds, dry spots will start to show. We can now place our tuna casserole in a preheated 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, but you want to start monitoring around the 18-minute mark. That is because this topping has 2 types of cheese and it will start to brown rather quickly. However, you do want it a little bit on the dark side, something like this. Quick tip, it is a good idea to let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes for the cheese to firm up, otherwise it may fall apart once you try to serve it. About 15 minutes later, this is what we got. My friends, I hope you tried this recipe for tuna casserole because this may easily become your signature dish. Until next week, this is JC coming to you from the Cuban Redneck Kitchen. God bless you all.